Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to Śrīmad Bhāgavatam class. Today we'll be covering the last chapter of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 12, Chapter 13. Please join us for Jayalala Madhav prayers. Hare Krishna. Hare Kṛṣṇa, dear devotees. Welcome to the study of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Please join us in the recitation of the first verse of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 12, Chapter 13. So this is the last chapter, and of course, please join us for Mangalacharan prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiriyet Shrutam Swakatha Kṛṣṇa Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto Bhadrani Vidunoti Suhasatam Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtiki. Hare Kṛṣṇa. So please join us. The topic of the chapter is the glories of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, and in this chapter we'll be focusing on how to receive wonderful blessings from hearing, reading, gifting, and engaging in Bhagavad Seva, right? So there is devotee Bhagavat, and then there is the Shastra Bhagavat. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Hare Kṛṣṇa. So this verse is similar to the first chapter, the initial 2-3 verses. So they are broken into, as per the meaning, in different phases. So please join us in the recitation. Sutta Uvacha Yam Brahma Varundre Rudra Marutah Stunvanti Divyastver Vedah Sangha Padokam Pradishair Gayanti Yam Samagaha
Vedah Sangha Padakrama Nishadar Gayanti Yam Samagaha
Dhyana Vasistha Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino
Dhyana Vasthita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino
Yasyantam na viduhu Sura Suraganaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha.
Yasyantam na vidu Sura Gana Devaya Tasmai Namah.
Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Sutta Goswami said, unto that personality whom Brahma, Varun, Indra, Rudra and the Maruts praise by chanting transcendental hymns and reciting the Vedas with all their corollaries, Padakramas and Upanishads, to whom the chanters of the Samavedas always sing, whom the perfected yogis see within their minds after fixing themselves in trance and absorbing themselves within him, and whose limit can never be found by any demigod or demon. Unto that Supreme Personality of Godhead I offer my humble obeisances. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Please join us for Guru Pranati. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshitarine Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tadaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinat Aranam. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. Hare Kṛṣṇa. So this is a beautiful chapter where we will hear about the blessings. So we always start with the blessings. And these blessings are with respect to one who gifts Bhagavatam, especially on Bhadra Purnima. When one places Śrīmad Bhāgavatam on a golden throne and gives it to someone, then he will attain the supreme transcendental destination. He will return back home, back to Godhead. I'm not saying this, Sutta Goswami is saying this, right? So this is verse 13 of chapter 13 of Canto 12 in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, where he is revealing that by gifting Bhagavatam, so auspicious, well, you can gift Bhagavatam anytime, but especially on this Bhadra Purnima, when you give Bhadra Purnima, then you get this guaranteed going back home. And Srila Prabhupada used to say, charity begins at home. He used to remind us. So the first thing you should do is try to give yourself this gift of Bhagavatam, right? And then of course continue to distribute it, because the more you distribute it, the more it multiplies, right? The happiness multiplies, the more you distribute it. And the sorrow divides, the more you share it. So it is also very important for us to understand that this is the bright sun that has arisen in this Kali age after Lord Kṛṣṇa left for his supreme abode. Kṛṣṇe sodhamo padyate dharma jnana adhibi saha kalo nishtam drishamesha puranarko dhunodita. So this Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is as brilliant as the sun which has arisen right after the departure of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa to his personal abode. And persons who have lost their vision in the darkness of this Kali age, in the mode of ignorance, right? So the Kali age is full with mode of ignorance. And those who cannot see, they have lost their sight because of the darkness. They get light from this Purana, which has risen like a brilliant sun. So when there is brilliant sun, then you can see things as they are. And one of the important things that you start seeing is who we are. Why are we in this world? Why is there suffering in this world? Where do I really belong? We are like fish out of water, because this is not our place. Srila Prabhupada used to say that this material world is not a place for a gentleman or a lady. It is very important for us to understand this. In essence, that we living entities are eternal living entities, and the happenings in this material world, like this body, it grows, it dwindles, it dies. That is not our nature. So we feel misery coming because of unnatural, behavior of this material world. And then we have to understand, what is the purpose of life? And what's the purpose of life? The purpose of life is to enjoy. So I was reading, and Srila Prabhupada says that the purpose of life is to enjoy. And to enjoy means you have to know the formula to enjoy, right? It is not through satisfying your senses. It is not in sense gratification. It is not through lusty desires, because that is a sure path to misery. Rather, to enjoy is you have to be in the company of the supreme enjoyer, the supreme personality of Godhead. Purusha also means enjoyer, the one who is, the master. So when we serve Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, then Lord Kṛṣṇa is so merciful that he gives us everything that we want. He is, the Vaikuntapati. He is the Lord of the material and spiritual universes. And sometimes people say, where is it given? It's very clearly given in Bhagavad Gita as well. Bhoktaram yagatapasam sarva loka maheshwaram surhidam sarva bhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. So Bhoktaram yagatapasam, he is the beneficiary of all sacrifices. So if you're thinking that you're making a sacrifice for your family, and you're making a sacrifice for your boss, or you're making sacrifice for your beloved, or you're making sacrifice for your parents, understand that actually you may be doing it with the right attitude, but with an indirect worship of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. We have to understand that all living entities around us are living entities who are Jivera Sarupoya Kṛṣṇa Nityadasya, eternal servants of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. So the best sacrifice is to bring everyone together and engage in chanting of the holy name, Sankirtan Yajna. So that is the yajna prescribed for this age. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. So now the blessings, they continue in this chapter. And so previously we had also discussed that there are 18 major Puranas and 18 minor Puranas, right? So how do you enjoy actually? Let me finish that. So to enjoy is by serving Lord Shri Krishna, because a king's servant enjoys the same facility as the king himself, right? And we have seen this in practical example. In India, you see many rich people, and they are working from morning to evening, but the servants in their homes are actually using the same facilities and enjoying more than the owner of the house. So that is also very interesting, that the servants, they continue. The moment the master comes, they serve. It's not that the master has come and they're careless and doing their own doing. No, they're careful. So when Lord Krishna is there, we serve him. And then Lord Krishna provides everything, and he's ready to share all the facilities, all the things that we desire. Living entities, our nature is anand bhaya abhyasat. We are always seeking happiness. But how to be happy, we don't know, right? Because when we took birth, we thought that, okay, we were very much twisting and turning in mother's womb. And as soon as we came out, what did we do? We cried out loud, right? Normally, when you are out of an uncomfortable situation, you should be laughing and smiling. But our very state is, as soon as we came out, we were all crying. And to the maximum extent, like, where have we come? This is not where I expected to be. I expected to be back home. So, right there, we get an experience. And every day, we see in this material world, when you open a newspaper, you see, we don't read newspaper, but those who open newspaper, they only see bad news, bad news, bad news. There's so much misery and so much, pain in this material world. That's why. And then the interesting thing is, you're reading something that changes every day, the newspaper. Better is to read Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. For thousands of years, it has stayed as it is. Yet, at the same time, it can cause a revolution in our life. So, Srila Prabhupada, he actually included Śrīmad Bhāgavatam as part of the 7 purposes of ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Now, the interesting thing is this. Even the name, every single word Srila Prabhupada used is, with great care. He didn't say it's an International Society of Krishna Consciousness, because then it would have meant that there is only Krishna Consciousness in this society and nowhere else. He really realized that actually Gaudiya Math is there, and then all the other sampradayas are there. So this is a society that propagates Krishna consciousness, but along with all other sampradayas. And Prabhupada's dream was that his disciples would do 5 to 10 and even 20 times more, preaching than what he did. And then imagine, multiply that same amount for the grand disciples, right? And we all know that the grandfather is more merciful to the grandchildren than to the, their own children. So we have this amazing mercy, and we have some amazing, even with COVID-19 scenario, the virtual world has suddenly awakened. And we all have this opportunity to take to, Krishna consciousness and read Bhagavad Gita. So, when we read Bhagavad Gita is named Bhagavad Gita as it is. So, it should not just stay on the shelf as it is. Rather, we should make an endeavor to open and read just a verse or two. And yesterday we covered that how, just by even reading half a sentence of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam can purify oneself. And it is so auspicious, it's filled with blessings at every juncture, because it is talking about transcendental matter, right? I may be impure, you may be impure, but Krishna is pure, and Krishna appears in the form of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is Amal Purana, faultless Purana, coming, directly from Krishna, imparted by Brahma to Naradji, Naradji to Vyasadev, and Vyasadev to Shukdev Goswami. We covered that yesterday. So again, here, Sutta Goswami, he glorifies. And then Sutta Goswami wants to, again, he is in the company of these great sages, at Naimisharanya, where Shaunaka Rishi is their spokesperson, and he realizes that these people really like the numbers, so they really like the technical details. So he covers the technical details, and I added some additional aspects from Padma Purana, where Lord Shiva is describing what are the 18 major Puranas, and he is giving them in the 3 different sections, in the mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. So the 3 Puranas are also in the modes, which means that people in these modes, when they read this mode specific Purana, they derive greater benefit and they elevate themselves to the higher mode. That is the purpose. So again, that is also been explained by the Acharyas. So he is talking to who? Goddess Parvati, right? And he is saying, oh beautiful one, the Vishnu Puran, Narad Puran, the auspicious Bhagavat Puran, the Garud Puran, and Padma Puran and Varaha Purana. These Puranas all belong to the mode of goodness. They are all considered auspicious. So, as you may have paid attention, when it came the moment to call out Bhagavat Purana, he calls it the auspicious Bhagavat Purana. And Bhagavat Purana is the king of all Puranas, right? Nimdaganam yatha Ganga, Devanam achito yatha, Vaishnavanam yatha Shambhu, Purananam idam tatha. So this verse appears in this particular chapter itself, that of all the rivers, the topmost river is Mother Ganges. Now Dinbandhu Prabhu has a very interesting statement about this. So when people come to Vrindavan, he takes them on Vrindavan Parikrama, and he takes them to various ghats, and sometimes when they are getting in the water, then he says that Ganges, when you step in the Ganges, then all your sinful reactions are washed away. But when you step in the Yamuna river, she is so merciful that all your sinful as well as pious reactions, both of them are driven away. So sometimes people get scared, and they step out, not realizing actually it's a benediction. Because if we have any pious reaction also, that will cause us to take birth again, if it is not nullified by the time in this life itself. So, by the time we meet death of this body. So it is also very interesting to understand that when bank of Ganges has been referred and Parikshit Maharaj is fasting, that is actually Yamuna river. So after Sangam, when Yamuna flows on, many personalities call it Ganges, because there is a coalition, there is a Sangam that has already happened before. So of all the rivers, the topmost river is Ganges. Devanam Achyuto Yatha. So of all the worshipable deities, the topmost is Lord Kṛṣṇa, right? And Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. So of all the Vaishnavas, the topmost Vaishnava is Lord Shiva. And then Puranam Nam Idam Tatha. So of all the Puranas, just like these 3 have been identified, similarly, Tatha is like similarly, this scripture is the topmost Purana. Now, when this particular reference has been given, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur identifies that when Sutta Goswami is identifying the various Puranas and what are the number of verses in each of the Puranas, then he repeats Śrīmad Bhāgavatam at the end again. That is like, when you are introducing the king with his associates, then at the end you again go back to the king and, say a welcoming message. Okay, Hare Krishna. So, Vishnu Purana is 23,000 verses. Narad Purana has 25,000 verses. Bhagavat Purana, as we know, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam has 18,000 verses, and Garud Purana has 19,000 verses. Padma Purana has 55,000 verses. That is like the biggest one of all of them. And Varaha Purana has 24,000 verses. So these 6 Puranas are in the mode of goodness and they are all auspicious. Then Lord Shiva continues to describe the other 6 Puranas which are in the mode of passion. He is addressing Mother Parvati again, saying that know that the Brahmand Puran, which is 12,000 verses, Brahma Vaivata Puran, which is 18,000 verses, Markandeya Puran is 9,000 verses, Bhavishya Puran is 14.5 thousand verses, Vaman Puran is 10,000 verses, and Brahma Puran is 10,000 verses as well, belong to the mode of passion. So he is listing the Puranas, I am adding the counts of the verses. That Sutta Goswami discusses in this chapter. And then Lord Shiva and Padma Purana continues, and know that these 6 Puranas belong to the mode of ignorance. And which are these? The Matsya Purana. Matsya Purana has 14,000 verses. Kurma Purana has 17,000 verses. Linga Purana has 11,000 verses. Shiva Purana has 24,000 verses. Skanda Purana has 81,100 verses. And Agni Purana has 15,400 verses. So together when we add all these Puranas, how much is it total? 400,000 verses. And then it is Mahabharata, which has more than 100,000 verses. And then Ramayana is also there, that Valmiki wrote it. It was very extensive, so Devashi Narad shortened it. And then there is a very nice story that also is described, that when Hanumanji, he was so much touched by Ramayana that he translated the whole Ramayana in Hindi. Just like Srila Prabhupada, for the Western world to be able to understand Bhagavad Gita, he translated it in English. Well, people were more inclined towards Hindi, the simple people. So Hanumanji did a translation. He gave it to Valmiki ji. He said that please read it and approve it. So Valmiki ji, he realized that as soon as after reading it, that if everybody gets Ramayana in a very simple language, then what would happen? No one will read his Sanskrit version. So he let it go in the river. And when Hanumanji came and he asked, well, what do you think? He said, I let it go in the river. So Hanumanji understood what was the reason. So he said, because you did this, you will have to take birth again to write it for the general populace who will not be very intelligent. So that's why Valmiki ji had to take birth again. And who is he born as? Tulsidas, who wrote Ramcharitamanas, which is very easy to understand compared to Ramayana, which is in Sanskrit. So that is also a very interesting aspect. So this is the blessings of the devotees and mercy of the devotees, that we get these amazing Puranas, which are very difficult to understand but are made very easily available and very easily understandable for the people of this age. Now Sutta Goswami is glorifying in this chapter that Bhagavad Purana, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, is meant for Paramhamsas. So sometimes when people hear that is meant for Paramhamsas, they say, okay, we are not Paramhamsas, how can we understand? But the aspect he is identifying is that even when a person with not good enough intelligence, with less intelligence, engages in regular study of Bhagavatam, then they elevate to the level of Paramhamsas. That is the essence being identified by Sutta Goswami. And as the reference is going on, means again he is now praying to Lord Brahma, that by the mercy of Brahma, who was imparted this knowledge by Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa through the heart, right? Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. So Lord Kṛṣṇa imparted this knowledge, Veda, right? Veda means knowledge, and through the heart. So in the heart of Lord Brahma, he could see the Lord, Supreme Lord Vishnu, who imparted this knowledge, and so he can pass it on. Mohiyanti Yasuryam is even the great sages and the suras, the devotees are constantly bewildered. And then Mohana means the one who bewilders. Now Vimohan is the one who bewilders very nicely. So even Brahma got bewildered, and we refer to that Leela as Brahma Vimohana Leela, right? In the 10th canto, right? And in the 14th chapter of 10th canto, how Lord Brahma, he asks for forgiveness and he prays amazing prayers to Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. So Sutta Goswami is then offering, prayers to glorify Shukdev Goswami. Now, why is he glorifying Shukdev Goswami? And he is even saying that Shukdev Goswami is the absolute truth. Because qualitatively one, and Shukdev Goswami is carrying forward the mission of the Lord, right? To spread Krishna consciousness and make people happy, give them the right formula to enjoy eternally, not momentarily. Because in this material world with lust, what kind of enjoyment would you have? And the interesting thing is, people, means we have practical experience of this. When we see a small child, he's crying for a toy. And we, parents, means those who have children, we have seen this. Child is crying, but that kid has this toy, I want that toy, right? And the moment you get this kid the toy, after playing for 15-20 minutes, he puts the toy aside and sees another toy. He's crying for that toy. So this is the material nature, always moving the target ahead. It never satisfied. The senses are never satisfied. They're always seeking something more and something more. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has pointed out that Sutta Goswami is revealing second time, after referring to all the Puranas, he comes back to glorify Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, because Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is the king of Puranas. And now in the Glories, Srila Prabhupada has given amazing reasons in this. So this is where basically Sutta Goswami has identified. Yet at the same time, in this current age, and what has been said of Munis, it is said that sages who could see him in their mind, the importance of mantra. Man is mind, tra is that delivers. Chanting of the holy name has been glorified. It has been it has been provided in a hidden manner that by chanting of the holy name, mind is delivered, and that deliverance allows us to see the Lord in our mind. So mind becomes our best friend in that manner. Now, authority of Bhagavatam. So there are some interesting aspects I wanted to share. So sometimes the Mayavadis, they challenge the authority of Bhagavatam. They say, the Mayavadi scholars, they say that Śrīmad Bhāgavatam was not compiled by Srila Vyasadevji. It's a recent, composition that was done by someone named Vopadeva. So, Shri Sridhar Swami, he refutes this point by saying that Bhagavatam has been referred in many oldest Puranas, right? The first verse in Bhagavatam is actually a Gayatri mantra. After Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya is the Gayatri mantra. Janmadiyasya yato anvayaditrashchateshva bhigya swarad tene brahma hidayadi kavaye muhyanti yat suryaha tejo vari mridam yatha vinimayo trisargo amrisha Dhamna swena sada nirasta kuhukam satyam param dhimahi. So that verse, and Srila Prabhupada paid special importance in the purport, because when he started writing Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, he wasn't sure if he will be able to finish whole of Bhāgavatam. So he focused on covering the whole of Bhāgavatam in the first canto itself. But then he wasn't sure that he will be able to finish the first canto. So he put the whole of Bhāgavatam in the first chapter. And then he even had a doubt at one point whether he will be able to cover the essence of Bhāgavatam in the first chapter. So he actually put the essence of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam in the very first purport of the first verse of the first chapter of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So please, if you get time, read the purport of the first canto, first chapter, first verse, where you get the essence of Bhāgavatam right there. And then there is also other Puranas that state that this Bhāgavatam has 12 cantos. Matsya Purana, which is one of the oldest Puranas, also refers to Bhāgavatam. And then there is a reference to the Bhagavatam in the conversation between Gautam Rishi and Ambarish Maharaj. And the king was advised by whom? Gautam Rishi to read Śrīmad Bhāgavatam if he desired liberation from material bondage. So, other acharyas like Jiva Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Vallabhacharya and others have elaborately provided commentaries on the Bhagavatam, and with proofs that other Puranas have identified and provided reference to Bhagavatam. So this explanation is right there in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Verse 1 that I was talking about in the purport. Now, explanations of all Vedic literatures have been given in Bhagavatam, which is the commentary on Vedanta by Srila Vyasadeva himself. And we hear that Mayavadis, they were always refuting it, and on the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there was another commentary given, and Srila Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita is giving credit, he is dedicating Bhagavad Gita to that personality, to Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan, who presented so nicely the Govinda Bhasya commentary on Vedanta philosophy. So if you have not paid attention, here it is. Right there in Bhagavad Gita. So, and it is amazing that this Govinda Bhasya was just done in a few days, and when the Mayavadis read it, they were shaken inside out, means they were completely stunned reading that commentary on Vedanta philosophy. Yet at the same time, he derived it from Bhagavatam, and by the mercy of the Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. So this expansion of Gayatri Mantra and the essence of all Vedic knowledge, this Bhagavatam contains 18,000 verses. We understand that, and is the explanation of all Vedic literatures. Now the third is supreme Vedic literature. It's the Amal Puran. It is the ripened fruit of all Vedic knowledge. It is present in this Bhagavatam, and the full purport of Mahabharata is also there. That is also being covered. And the commentary on the Brahma Gayatri is also there, and full expansion of all Vedic knowledge. So this is, and it is spotless, Amal Puran. It is spotless literature. And when gifting Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, we get amazing blessing. So first is, please, charity begins at home. So if you want your own local copy, so in the description we have provided a link so that you can contact, so you can pass it on to the local devotees where you are, who can provide you your own local copy. So again, that opportunity is there. It's a very interesting when sometimes people say, then they ask that, Prabhu, you are telling us to get a local copy. Do you have a local copy? Yes, there is a local copy right here, but this is my copy. And my wife, she has her own local copy. So out there you see 12th canto. Out here there is another 12th canto. And my son Govind, he also has his own Bhagavatam copy. So again, it's very important to have, so that when you sit as a family, you can open your own copy and you develop your own personal relation by underlining things. Oh, this is very sweet. So when you open it, you are reminded of, oh wow, such a wonderful pastime. And it allows you a good reference. Then, serious study. So we should take this seriously. When Srila Prabhupada, he used to send his disciples on Sankirtan and book distribution, many times they would come back, and so Srila Prabhupada would ask, and he would understand that they are not studying, so he would stress that you have to study yourself. What if somebody asks what's in this book? Then how would you explain it? And it is meant for us, the devotees, more than the outsiders. We have to understand the philosophy. We have to realize the philosophy. We have to practice it and realize it, so that with realized knowledge, when we go out, we get amazing blessings of the Supreme Lord, and we can take to devotional service more strongly and spread. We get empowered by Lord Nityananda, Adi Guru, and by Srila Prabhupada, by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and all the acharyas in the lineage. lineage so that we can preach Śrīmad Bhāgavatam very nicely to others, and they will take it, because what they are taking is not book, what they are taking is the bhav that we contain. So when we see a pure devotee, just by seeing the pure devotee, we get the blessings of love of Godhead. Similarly, when we are reading Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, where amazing pure devotees, this, unalloyed devotional service they are performing to Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, we get in touch with them and we get their mercy, so that we can develop love of Godhead and enjoy eternally, right? Which is by serving Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. That is the formula. Not that we want to seek sense gratification. Yes, when we read Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, our senses are automatically gratified. Reminds me of an incident where Srila Prabhupada, he had just finished a Śrīmad Bhāgavatam class, and one of the disciples asked that, Srila Prabhupada, when we read Śrīmad Bhāgavatam and all, we are all in Krishna consciousness, but sometimes, when we are going out and meeting others, we get in material consciousness. Srila Prabhupada laughs and he says, actually, most of the time we are in material consciousness. Only when we are sitting in the class and studying the scriptures, chanting the holy name, worshipping the deity, engaging in devotional service, only those sometimes, which is like the minority of our time, we are in Krishna consciousness. We should make an effort to constantly be in Krishna consciousness. And to be constantly Krishna conscious, very simple things are required, right? We talked about how even material things we can link everything to Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. And all we have to do is always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna, right? Smartavyo satatam Vishnu vismartavyo na jato chit sarve vidhi nishedasyo retayor eva kinkara. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna, and all other rules and regulations are subservient to these two principles. And we should seek the association of devotees. Devotee association is paramount of the actually five most potent forms of devotional services. Again, they are among the 64 that Srila Rupa Goswami described in Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So we have to understand that devotee association is very important. It keeps us aligned. And we should engage in serious study of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Now continuing, it is ever refreshing. Have you ever seen, Lord Krishna's pastimes, we read them again and again and again, and we never get tired of it. Why? Because they are navinanam. So they are constantly refreshing, they are constantly rejuvenating us. They are actually recharging us. What happens when we are chanting, sometimes we have to pull our mind back. But when we are reading Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, it is even more powerful, because that's Lord Krishna's effect right there, just like the chanting of the holy name. That mind gets absorbed in reading Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. In due course of time, as we continue to read. So practice. That's a simple formula, as Dale Carnegie said, not me. So again, we have to practice, and practice makes a man perfect. So we all understand these are simple facts. Srila Prabhupada used to say, early to sleep, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy and wise. These are general facts. All we have to do is practice it, check it out, does it work or not? And if it works, then it's great. If it's not working, then check it out. What is it that we are doing wrong? We want to get up at 3:30 a.m. morning so that from 4 o'clock we start chanting. But if you are going to sleep at 11 p.m., how is it going to help? Right? Our body needs to rest, rejuvenate, recharge. Similarly, when we are chanting the holy name, our mind also needs to rejuvenate. So we can tell our mind, take a break, don't do anything. Forget about things, of the past. Forget about things you have to do today. This is your break time. Just listen to the holy name. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And you will see how quickly it gets absorbed. When reading Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, just listen to the transcendental sound vibrations, the transcendental words when you are reading in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Mind should just be engaged, and then before you know, you are completely absorbed in the all-attractive Krishna, and with affection, you start developing that bhav. And Lord Krishna is bhav grahi janadana. He is looking at the essence in our heart. So it is such a nice literature. Srila Prabhupada, he basically, is constantly in his purpose, identifying from the very 7 purposes of ISKCON, he is identifying the importance of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. And near the end of this chapter, Sutta Goswami is glorifying, paying obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, and to his spiritual master, Shukadeva Goswami. And this is where he ends the chapter. And this is where Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, 12th canto, is finished. Congratulations, we have just completed the first study of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. And it is always good to study again, because every time we open the book and even read the same verse second time, we get new meanings and new lessons from it. Gantra Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai. Let us offer prayers to the great Vaishnavas, the Acharyas, and especially for people in these times, in the COVID-19. There are many devotees, they are currently going through a lot of hardship and a lot of sickness because of COVID-19 effect, the pandemic. And many left their bodies as well. So let's pray for Lord Krishna's mercy, so that, if Lord Krishna desires, then they can, continue on their journey back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Shukdev Goswami ki jai, Vaishnavacharyas ki jai, Nitai Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Contact information given for
Yes, contact information is given in the description so that you can contact us and we will put you in touch with the local devotee who can provide you your own copy of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Hare Krishna, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai.